Alexander Volkanovski and Max Holloway trilogy prediction. That is what we're going to be doing in today's video. Volkanovski with 23 wins and only 1 loss against this Corey Nelson, some random guy over there in Australia with 20 wins, 8 losses, and 2 draws. And guess what division that was in? The welterweight division. Now he's in the featherweight division, obviously fighting guys of more his size. He joined the UFC in 2016, second round knockout win, decision win, knocked out Jeremy Kennedy, beat Darren Elkins by decision, knocked out Chad Mendes, beat a former champion, one of the greatest featherweights of all time in Jose Aldo. Then he beat the current champion, the right before Volkanovski and Max Holloway as the champion, beat him by unanimous decision. Then he beat him by split decision. Then he dominated Brian Ortega in their last fight. And now they're going to do a third fight with Max Holloway and Alexander Volkanovski. Of course, right now it is 2-1 in this little saga, this little series between the two. But whatever happens, what if Max Holloway wins this fight? They do a fourth fight. What if Max Holloway wins that fight as well, and we see a quintilogy between Volkanovski and Max Holloway? That would just be absolutely nuts to see 4, maybe even 5 fights. I mean, I don't know how the UFC featherweight division would be moving at that point, but it would be absolutely insane. Holloway, since those losses to, of course, Volkanovski twice, he did dominate Calvin Kattar, and then he beat Yair Rodriguez, also beating Jose Aldo, Brian Ortega, Jose Aldo again, Pettis, Lama, Stevens, Oliveira, Swanson, and then so many other guys as well. But it's going to be a banger of a fight. Max Holloway is going to be taller than Volkanovski. Volkanovski is going to be lengthier. Holloway has a little bit more volume with the boxing. Volkanovski has a little bit more volume with the kicking, and also is going to have the power advantage. So how I see the fight actually playing out, I see the fight mainly staying on the feet. I see a couple, maybe 3, maybe 4 instances throughout the fight where we see maybe a takedown attempt or maybe even a takedown from Alexander Volkanovski. He's a little bit bigger than Holloway, he's a little bit stronger, has a little bit better wrestling and grappling, as we saw in the Brian Ortega fight. I mean, the way he was able to get out of those submissions, it's just absolutely insane. The takedowns will be played into effect every now and then. That's another thing that is going for Volkanovski. Of course, the power goes to Volkanovski. The volume is relatively even. Holloway lands slightly more to the face, but Volkanovski lands a little bit more to the body and a little bit more to the legs as well. So I do see the early rounds maybe, as usual, like the Volkanovski-Holloway saga has been going, Volkanovski going out there, heavy leg kicks early on in the fight, a little bit of wrestling and grappling there as well, mixed in throughout the fight as well. But we're also going to see a high uptick in volume from Volkanovski towards the later portions of the fight. Early on, Volkanovski just trying to out-edge every single one of those rounds, maybe secure a takedown in a very closely contested fight. But in those later rounds, as we saw him with Brian Ortega, as we saw him in his fights with Holloway, he tends to pick up the pace later on in the fight and just start throwing really powerful shots. I see the same thing happening here in the Holloway trilogy, as Volkanovski's probably going to win either the first round or the second round. I assume Holloway might win one of those rounds, but in those later rounds, I do think Volkanovski's leg kicks are going to pay dividends. Holloway's movement isn't going to be as good as it was. The takedowns are gonna play into effect as well, and that's when Volkanovski's power is really going to shine through. He's going to throw way more power, way more volume, and I cannot see Holloway winning other than a crazy finish on Volkanovski. If it goes all the way, I'm definitely going to go Volkanovski for a third time, because if you look at the UFC stats as of right now, if we go on I don't know, Holloway right here, the only way that Holloway was actually in the last 2 fights that they had were specific instances where Holloway actually caught Alexander Volkanovski a little bit, kind of hurt him just a little bit. Because if you look at the volume, Volkanovski's landing 20 more strikes in their first fight and about 35 more strikes in the second fight, along with those 3 takedowns as well. So the volume over time is definitely going to go Alexander Volkanovski. The only way I really see Max Holloway winning is in those early rounds. He needs to come forward and he needs to just start absolutely throwing. Because again, like I said, he put puts on that pace in those later rounds. 34-24 in the fourth, 37-23 in the fifth, 25-15 in the third, and then the first two rounds are fairly even. So Holloway needs to do what he can to kind of spread himself out in those first rounds, because we know Volkanovski has the advantages in the later rounds when the leg kicks start to pay dividends, as you see him laying 10, 15 more strikes in the third, fourth, and fifth round. So Holloway, his game plan needs to be go out there, destroy Volkanovski in the first round, throw so much volume in that first round, throw so much volume in that second round, put it all on the line in that third round, then survive the fourth and fifth round. Because I don't think, because of how close those first and second round are, you never know which rounds those are going to go to. And I do think it's very inevitable that Volkanovski is going to win the fourth and fifth round. He's just the better guy in those later rounds, and I can't see Holloway winning unless he just puts on the most crazy pace, specifically in the first and second round, and lands some very damaging shots, and maybe wobbles Volkanovski. I can't see that happening. I mean, Volkanovski is he's a way better leg kicker, though. I mean, 67-31 in leg kicks, and he's landing more strikes to the head as well. Volkanovski should definitely win the fight. It'll be close. It'll be close like usual. Maybe two rounds go Holloway, like the first and the third, and then the rest go Volkanovski. It's a very close fight. It's going to be a banger no matter what. Any fight where you have a trilogy between two guys that are this close in skill, the number one contender and the champion, and the former champion and the current champion, I mean, it's going to be an absolute banger. But my prediction for this fight, Volkanovski Holloway 3, is going to be Volkanovski going out there and winning the fight. I'm going to say 49-46. I think one round goes Holloway, the rest go Volkanovski. Really good fight in the featherweight division.